What's up YouTube? Today's video I'm gonna bring you a updated version of the guide I put out yesterday for farming the Mageblood card. Now you can see here yesterday after a long day of playing I finally got the Apothecary card, and this is just to show you exactly what it looks like when it drops and what type of mob it can really drop from. So that is pretty much from some shrine mobs I think that dropped it, or I don't even know, there's just some random mobs everywhere. Some random mobs along the path, not even a strong box, so some random mobs dropped it in the Crimson Temple there. But basically, today's video, I'm going to go over how you can farm Mageblood without the Wandering Path. Now, after doing a lot of thinking about it and trying out a lot of different methods of doing it, I actually discovered that Wandering Path might not be the way to go. And that last Mageblood you saw drop was not from Wandering Path, but it's pretty much just RNG in terms of Apothecary drop rate. But I'm going to go over why Wandering Path is probably better for a lot of you guys because it makes the map easier. It gets you a guaranteed Alva Temple, and it's pretty much a more consistent profit margin, and because you get a lot more divines and everything, and Alva Temple is extremely good. So first off, we have to understand what exactly is Wandering Path. Well, Wandering Path gives you 100% increased effect of small Atlas passive skills, and your notable Atlas passive skills grant nothing. So what this means is that all of these nodes right here will get doubled. So instead of 1% quant, you get 2%. Instead of 1% quant, 5% rarity, you get 2% quant, 10% rarity. And these nodes over here, instead of 2% increased effect of modifiers, you get 4%. Now the problem with this is you lose out on really juicy nodes like this. You don't get time dilation, which gives you incursions have a 33% chance for all monsters to be at least magic. You lose out on nodes like additional shrine. You lose out on twice tempted, additional strong box. And you lose out on operative strong box and tamper proof. So it's not all good for Wandering Path. Wandering Path is very good if you want as much quant on a map as possible, and it does give you increased effect of map modifiers, which scales really well if your map has a lot of mods. Like if you do an 8 mod corrupted map, you can easily get your map to like 200 to 250% or more. Now, what this means is the increased effect of map modifiers is really bad because it makes the map extremely hard. So if you look at these are 2% each. There's 15 of these nodes, so you can get 60% increased effect of map modifiers. And even though it increases your quant a lot, it makes a half regen map, no regen pretty much. It makes a minus max map, like minus 20 max res. So it makes the game very difficult, and it also can make the map almost impossible to clear in a lot of scenarios. If you get 40% monster life, it goes up to like 70% more monster life, and that's just completely ridiculous, right? So this Wandering Path node is a double-edged sword. So like I said, what does Wandering Path actually benefit? It gives 30% rarity and 30% quantity extra over no Wandering Path. Like these are all the nodes in the middle. And it gives 60% increased effect of map modifiers. It also gives you more beyond XP. Like some of the good ones here are more beyond XP. So these ones will be 60% total instead of 30%. And then you also get more beyond drops from the quant. So instead of 824, you'll have 48%. And you'll get like 10% quant. So it's a lot of good stuff that you can get. Not bad at all. And the main thing is it gets you more higher quantity on corrupted maps of a lot of mods. So the more mods your map has, the higher the quant will be due to the increased effect of map modifiers. Now, no wandering benefits. You might think, what's actually good from no wandering path? Well, no wandering path has an insane amount of benefits that I actually overlooked. Abyss has more mobs because you have Abyssal Army, which gives you abysses in your map spawn 100% increased monsters. And a 50% increased experience cancels out a lot of the stuff. Now, additional sextant, this is the biggest one. Additional sextant, we no longer have to use. If you have questions about the farming method, you can refer to the previous video I posted. I'll put a link down below in the description. But in terms of the sextants we use, we no longer need to use the sextant. So this sextant is your maps contain 2 additional strong boxes, and strong boxes in your maps are corrupted. Now, the reason we use this is so that we can have the strong boxes rolled, so we don't need to roll the strong boxes when we get there. So what this means is that because of tamper proof, which is over here, this thing already makes all the strong boxes corrupted and rare. And right here, we get 1 additional strong box for twice tempted. So that sextant is effectively not as useful anymore. And since we can cut out that sextant that makes all the strong boxes corrupted and rare, this means that we can use the Alva sextant on our maps. So the Alva sextant is huge because it's pretty hard to get Alva missions in general. So you can see here, Alva, you can get 10 charges on this or up to 16. it is incredibly hard to get Alva missions, especially if you run a lot of these maps. I know if you have a lot of Alva missions banked up, it's different, but getting a lot of Alva missions is a huge annoyance, especially if you do like 50, 60 maps a day and you need like 50 to 60 Alva missions. Now, another big thing is you have 30% increased chance to find Eater of World Altars if you choose that node, which is Shadow of Hunger. This node is especially important because if you're doing a what's it called, and you're missing out on quant, if you just find one of these quant altars, a lot of times the difference between no wandering path and wandering path is pretty equivalent if you find an extra altar with the quant. Also, you also get additional shrine, and you also get guaranteed magic monsters for every single shrine. Another thing is you can also pick up a covetous shrine, which gives you increased quant and rarity, and this also gets scaled by the goal. So you could actually get more quant that way with the extra covetous shrine. You do get extra packs of monsters. Another big thing is that you get 30% increased effect of shrine buffs right here. And shrines in your map grant a random additional shrine effect, so you can get acceleration shrine a lot easier. You can get massive shrine a lot easier. And what this means is that it's a lot easier to clear your maps with all of these shrines. Now, these are some of the smaller things. It's better beyond spawning. With Nemesis currency, you do get this node here. It's not very good, but just something I thought I might add. And you do get better beyond spawns because this thing, powerful beyond demons, require one fewer portal. And you have better merging radius even after taking into account that these things are doubled from Wandering Path. So beyond is slightly better. Now this is kind of the big stuff here is you can take immune response. Anyone who's done Delhi a lot knows that Blight is the most insane amount of mobs that you can possibly get. And with immune response, this is definitely the case. You get an insane amount of mobs, 100% more mobs, and the Blight encounter goes a bit faster at 150% faster. This is another huge one over here. Time dilation. You get a 33% chance for all monsters to be at least magic. What this means is that you'll probably, on average, get a lot better loot from here. So this is where I'm able to get a lot of divines and stuff like that, and maybe cards. I have seen a lot of people get apothecaries from the Alva Temple. So you can have a lot of valuable items drop from the Alva Temple now that you can have it on every single map. So there's a lot of benefits to no wandering path that kind of makes it so that wandering path is kind of outdated. Now, as I said, additional Eater of World Altars means that you also having Alva on every single map pretty much guarantees, for me personally, that no Wandering Path will feel a lot more fun to play. You do get a lot more divines consistently. The maps are easier to run because it's not so crazy anymore. You're not having 96% reduced regen. And the quantity is kind of similar, especially if you do find a covetous shrine or you find a quant altar from having more altars on the map on average. And like I said, the map is a lot easier to clear because you have the shrines in your maps grant an additional random shrine effect or additional shrine effect. And you usually have around like 6 to 7 shrines per map. So that's like 7 additional shrine effects that should last pretty much the whole map. Now, next up I wanted to bring up, and this is something I didn't really touch on in the last video, is should you actually magic find? And I do think that magic find is completely broken. And it's actually kind of a sad thing to say because Magic Find is really annoying in the sense that it really limits build diversity because there's not that many items in the game that gives quant. So if you look at my gear right now, there's 2 rings that give quant, pretty much Pariahs or Ventors, and Pariahs do give more quant at 15%. The only boots that give quant is Gold Worms at 20%. The belt, you can usually get a quant implicit Mageblood, which doesn't really exist, or quant implicit Headhunter, which is a bad belt now, or you can use Bisco's Leash. Gloves, you can use Sedimas, which is around 10%. There's no helmet that gives quant, so everyone usually uses a rare with rarity on it. An amulet, I use Eyes of the Great Wolf with 18% quant, which I think is the most that you can actually get. You can also wear a rare amulet for around 10% quant. And then there's no real weapons. There's a shield with quant with Centauries, I think, with 5% quant. So before you even start doing Magic Find, you already know exactly what every single piece of gear is. That's pretty much because there's not that many rares that can beat out uniques for quant. But I do think that the drop off of just running 2 Ventors and running a Gold Worm is definitely worth it. This 20% here, 20% here is 40%. And if you can find a way to fit in the Eyes of the Great Wolf, you're already near like 60% quant. And you don't lose that much character power depending on what type of build you're playing. And if you can fit in the Divination Distiller like I have by just running Petrified Blood. So the way it works is that Petrified Blood makes it so you can't recover your life over 50%. So when you use the flask, you're still casting your skills, which brings you below. So you
What
see
a
the
name.
flask will always be going
Then
on,
I'm
and the
ready, and
vortex
not
will
before.
be casting on life. So that's why with Petrified Blood, you can easily run Divination Distillate, although your character is a lot more susceptible to degens, but you are able to get like 60 to 80% quant without that much investment. And what this means is that you do nerf the power of your character, but you can just run a lower delirium level, and this will result in a lot more six links. If you play the game without Magic Find and then try out Magic Find in the setup, you will notice that you'll have so many more six links. I think I have currently nearly 500 divines that I farmed from yesterday, and every single map you're pretty much coming out with around an exalt worth of six links just alone. But Magic Find does ruin like build diversity, and you pretty much know exactly what you're getting into when you decide to do Magic Find. Some other good builds for Magic Finding besides Blade Vortex is probably like Kinetic Blast, but that requires an Aura Bot. In terms of the amount of builds that I think could do 80% deli with this much Magic Find gear is probably very few, and does require Aura Bot to function. Now, overall, I hope everyone decides to try out this no wandering path strat. It feels a lot more fun to play. There's more mobs in the map in general, and even though the quant is less, the more mobs kind of make up for it. I do think the blight alone is so big, and just having Alva Temple every single time and being able to use your sentinels in the Alva Temple should far outweigh the benefit that you get from a wandering path. So you can play around with it, but do know that with or without Wandering Path, this method is still incredibly RNG with the Apothecary drop rate. A lot of people ask me what the drop rate is, and I would probably say if you do the juice method, it's probably like 1 in 40 or the 50 maps. And MF is definitely the way to go if your build can handle it, but make sure that you're not sacrificing too much clear speed. If you're dying too much, you need to find a way to fix it, because if you're dead and you're not clearing the map, then you get 0 quant regardless of how much magic finds you have. And Alva, like I said, is the way to go. No one really wants to farm Alva missions. It's pretty hard to farm 50 to 60 in a day while also doing the maps. But thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know down below which method you like. And be sure to consult my previous video. I will put a link down in the description if you want to know how to do this method. But the method is pretty much identical. I will put a link to the Atlas passive tree for the no wandering path version, which I do think is superior. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more mirrors, exalts, and mage bloods than me, and see you next time. Bye.